I get so many messages through, Instagram and stuff, like, of people saying you saved me. You saved me this year. And I am making a difference in someone's life.
Jessval, thank you so much for being on POVz today. It's so nice to have you here in person. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
How's it going? How's your week been?
Good. It's been a busy week. I love being busy.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm someone who always says busy is better. So thank you amidst your busy schedule for making time to come on the show.
I love it.
I can't wait to dive in. We have so much to talk about. And here on POVz, we always start off with somewhat of a controversial question. So you ready to dive in?
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay, Jessval, do you think having a positive body image is truly attainable?
Yeah, not all the time, because I truly think that I'm someone who's very body positive, and like 90% of the time I'm like, yeah, I feel good about myself. Then sometimes that 10% creeps in and I'm like, oh my goodness, I look at myself in the mirror, that one angle, and I'm like, And the media has been doing a little bit of a better job at representing lots of people with different body types. And it is, it is hard sometimes, like walking through a mall and walking out in public, and I see on a billboard just like one specific body type, and I'm like, I don't look like that. And that's just doesn't make me feel great. Sometimes it is motivating because like I am a very active person. I like to, go to the gym. I do like to be healthy, but like sometimes like I look at that, I'm like, I don't think I can ever look like that. Even if I do get into my absolute best shape ever, like that's not me.
Yeah, I'm so happy you shared that. And I wanted to start us there because I know so much of your platform has been built on being open and honest about your experiences. And one of the topics that you openly discuss is body image, which I admire so much about you. We've got to have more of those conversations.
Thank you.
Do you remember the first moment where you maybe were looking in a mirror or were in a certain situation where you felt upset about your body or you started reconciling with body image?
There's a very important person in my life who's still in my life and will always be in my life, who has made me develop an eating disorder. And I was at a short time, bulimic ever since I was 12 and I hit puberty. It was really hard for me to look at myself in the mirror. And also I took dance classes and I took a lot of ballet growing up because I had long legs, and my teachers were like, oh, you would be a perfect ballerina because you look it. And I, also had added pressure because of that to stay super skinny. And it made me just like want to freak out because like there was always this intense pressure to be perfect and to be this size. And I'm like, I went through puberty very young and I developed, like my chest grew very large, very fast. And that was something I couldn't control. When I was 16, my parents made me get a breast reduction. For 10 years of my life, I've always been told that I wasn't skinny enough, and that was always going to hurt me, and that was never going to help me with where I wanted to be in life. It's like, screw that. Like, I have made a platform for myself, not because of what I look like, not because of my body, not because of exposing myself, not because of all that. And I just think it's so important that like, that's not the end all be all is how you look.
Thank you for sharing that and for being so open. So many people need to hear what you just said. And I so admire you for creating a platform where you can talk about this real shit. This is you. This is what people gravitate to you for, not only for your comedy and your incredible posts on TikTok, but because you have so much to say that's going to impact the world so positively. So thank you. Obviously, I've only known you for a couple of minutes, but even I relate so deeply to what you shared as someone who also grew up in ballet and constantly comparing myself to every single person and feeling the need to be perfect in every aspect of my life. On POVz, we're always constantly trying to consider different viewpoints. So I'd love to know, why do you think some people believe that we should adhere to these societal norms? Why do you think we've been led to believe that we need to be perfect?
I guess the easier way of putting this, it's like there's always like celebrities and people that we have to look up to, the people who are so beautiful and the pop stars and the actresses, like they always have to be perfect. And so like that's just, you know, what is expected. You have to have the best hair, the best makeup, the best nose, the best eyes, the best lips, the best body in order to be successful. And I mean, thank goodness, like there's so much more representation in, you know, body types out there. But I really think that that is something that that does need to be worked on a lot more. And I really don't think that we see it enough, because like I will go into the theater or I'll see a movie and it's like, again, like every girl looks the same. And it's like, I look at that and I'm like, I can never be in a movie because I don't look like that. I don't, you know, I'm not a beautiful blonde woman. For your work and for your abilities, that should be what gets you into a room. That should be what gets you a job. And what's in your head and what's in your heart. Like that's what I truly, truly believe in and stand by. And I think that that's all that matters.
I want to double tap on this idea of perfection. How would you say your definition or your perception of perfection has changed from back in the day when you were struggling with your eating disorder and comparing yourself to everyone around you, to where you are now, creating a platform to actually talk about these issues? How has your definition of perfection evolved over time?
Perfection used to, like the definition of perfection used to be like you have to look a certain way, because I knew that I was training really hard and I was going to intensive after intensive and class after class. Like I was putting in the work. Now I was like, okay, now I just need to work on the image. Now, especially like through TikTok. I mean, I really love what I see on TikTok and the people who are being represented on there. So many different types of people, and like, you know, comedians and like Brittany Broski, for example. I'm a huge fan of her. I love her. Brody Wellmaker, Chris Collins, like I love them, and they're just so different and unique. Like I look at them, they put in the work and they're just like so authentically themselves. And like, that's what I feel like I want to work on now, is just like trying to be more comfortable with like who I am. Like that to me is perfection. Like just seeing these people and loving them for who they are, for what they put on the internet. And like Emma Chamberlain as well. Like she's a perfect example of that as well. Like that's why so many people are in love with her.
Right.
And I, you know, so I would say that's like my new definition of perfection, is just trying to be the most, you know, authentic version of myself as possible.
Do you think perfection is something we should even be striving for in the first place?
There is really no such thing as perfection, technically, I guess, but you can always be better. You can, I don't want to say be better. You can always work harder, and you can always have new goals, bigger dreams. If you were to hit perfection, that would be it. That'd be like, okay, there's nothing else to do. You hit it, you're perfect, that's it. That's not fun. That's not exciting. I, you know, always want to be like, okay, well, what's next? Like, you know, yesterday after I had a, you know, a photo shoot, and it was so much fun. It was like the best photo shoot I ever had in my life. But even after that, I was like, I'm ready for the next one. Like I'm ready. You know, you can never be, what's the word?
Complacent.
Yeah. And completely like just satisfied with what you have. Like I'm always like thinking about the next thing. Like what do I want to do? Where do I want to be like a year from now, 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Like I think it's always important to grow. Growth is something that is never going to go away as long as you work towards it. So
yeah, growth is everything. And even just having a growth mindset is what I always like to say.
Absolutely.
And thinking about where you are now, Jessval, did you ever think you would be a comedian? Was this in your bones from a young age? How did you get from where you were growing up to now being a content creator who's creating comedy for others?
You know, because I was always very goofy. I was always a very goofy kid. I never felt like I could fully express it. There was never an outlet to fully express it. When I was in high school, like people thought I was super weird. And like I had a very small friend group who accepted it, but most of the people didn't. And so I was like, I guess that'll just be like my who I'll be like in private. And then when I'm, performing or acting or auditioning, I'll go for those more like mature, dramatic roles, which I really did love doing. Like I loved portraying, like being in Les Miserables and being in those very like heavy shows growing up. It was in college where I really discovered like my comedic self and could let that blossom, because I was in the musical Legally Blonde. So and good. I played Paulette, which was like, I've always wanted to play something that crazy and that fun. It was after that, I was like, yes, like this is what I need to do. And then I really think after downloading TikTok and making content on there, I was like, well, this is where I feel most comfortable with, like the genre of entertainment. So I think comedy is really something that I was able to fully blossom into, like through TikTok. That's and huge. I'm very thankful for the platform, because it's really like, made me feel more accepted, because growing up I didn't feel accepted for my sense of humor and who I was. So totally, I really am just happy that this is something that I get to do for a living, which is be myself, And how special is that? It's very special.
Hitting you with another deep question. Yeah. Do you ever feel like the comedy and the content you create that's lighter and funnier is ever compensating for something?
Yes, for sure. I'll make like a lot of content about, my mother and situations of like that you would experience with a parent, like relatable, silly little experiences, So those definitely stem from personal experiences, which is like, fine. And I make the content because I know other people can relate to it.
I mean, to some degree, do you feel like you're helping to rewrite the story by creating content about the issues you've struggled with, or by inserting people into the scenarios that are from real experiences? Do you feel like you're kind of picking up the pen and rewriting the narrative?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I mostly just feel like I'm bringing more light to it. So like if a kid or anyone is going through some type of issue in life, like if I were to recreate it through a video, then at least they can see it and be like, oh, I thought I was the only one going through this situation. And then there's a whole comment section of people being like, oh my gosh, I thought it was just me. And then, because I definitely have seen a video online or a meme or something where I'm like, oh,
that's me.
That's me. And all these other people have lived through it too. Yeah. Like it's a very comforting thing. So I think like that's what I try to get through making these videos, is just to make everyone feel like they're safe and like they're not alone.
It's huge. And that's why I've loved your content.
Oh, thanks.
I remember you posted a video not too long ago that I felt really related to our mission here, which was using comedy, obviously, as a vehicle to kind of talk about how when you're in a big family gathering, people tend to bring up very serious political issues. And it's sometimes not always easy to start those conversations. So I appreciated that you were using your platform to start that important dialogue. How did you get the courage to not only just infuse these difficult issues with comedy, but to actually click post and talk about these issues that not everyone is willing to talk about?
Yeah, I guess because like within like my family, there are just lots of people who believe in different things and have different views. So I guess I've seen like the whole spectrum, and it's something that I have to respect, just because it's within my family and it's within people I love. I don't really like to talk about it honestly as much as others like to. But it is definitely something that I need to understand. Like everyone has an opinion about something. Everyone believes in something, and it's just something that I think as a daughter, as a friend, as a family member, it's something that I just need to like respect and let be.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
It is.
And it's why I created this. I wanted to create an environment where people could respect other people's viewpoints, not agree, not change, but find a way to coexist.
Yeah.
So it's awesome to hear that you've been able to do that with your family.
For sure.
For anyone out there who maybe doesn't quite know how to get to that point of respect. How would you advise a young person out there to actually find a way to see through that difference?
I think it's just important to listen and to understand like what the person is coming from and what their past experience could have been. You know, I think listening for me instead of just jumping to like, well, I don't agree with that. Like it's because you don't have to agree with it.
Right.
And there have been situations where I'm like, I don't agree with that.
I'm sure.
But you just have to like listen and understand if that's what someone wants to believe in, that's what they believe in. And I have my thoughts. I have my thoughts about certain views in life, and that's just something that I have to keep in my heart and just leave it at that.
Yeah, and we all do. And I am just so glad to see someone like you using her platform to actually give voice to the things that we're not talking about enough. So if you were thinking back to the younger Jessval, in those moments of struggle, in those moments that you opened up about so vulnerably here on this couch, what would you want your younger self to know, knowing what you know now?
I think just that there's like a very big world out there. You know, I grew up in a very small town. Everyone thought a very specific way, and I really thought that was the only way of life. And you know, there's so many opportunities out there, and there's so much to do, and there's so many skill sets of mine that I can utilize to just like make a life and a career and a passion for myself. And I guess what I would tell my younger self is just not to be scared, not because I was a very scared, very sheltered kid. And I really feel like I'm a lot more confident now than I used to be, because all growing up, I was having everyone just tell me exactly what to think, exactly what to do, exactly how to look, obviously. And so, you know, I really just am a lot happier that I know I can paint my own path, and I need to just trust myself, trust my knowledge, trust everything that has been given to me, and use that how I want to use it. And I think everyone should do the same for sure.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I definitely needed to hear that, and I'm sure so many people will resonate too.
I hope so.
So, Jessval, one of my favorite parts on POVz is when we start bringing in other perspectives to the conversation.
They're going to say guests. I was going to be like,
surprise!
Who's back?
We're bringing in the cast of Legally Blonde.
Oh my God.
But we're going to start introducing different viewpoints from the larger Gen Z community. So keep an eye on your phone. We're going to send you some texts.
Okay.
And you're going to read them out loud and react.
Okay, cool.
Let's do it.
TikTokers literally shouldn't get paid. It's not even real work. All right.
What do you have to say to that?
Then I guess Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston and all of them shouldn't get paid for being in all those movies.
Why do you think someone feels that way?
Maybe it's because the videos are so short, and it, might be something that doesn't seem as like time consuming and whatnot. But, I think that a lot of people do so many different things and influence the world in so many ways because of TikTok. I see lots of actors and people, portraying their skills on TikTok. And I think that it's a really beautiful way to showcase yourself. And I really think that that's very silly for someone to say something like that, because it is, I get so many messages through, Instagram and stuff, like, of people saying you saved me this year, and I am making a difference in someone's life. And I think being myself and providing entertainment, just like how Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston provide entertainment to people, I think that is life-changing in itself.
That was a great perspective. I'm so happy you shared that.
People are always making comments about my body. I don't know what to do anymore. Well, the people who are always making comments about your body clearly needs to get a job or needs to get a life. I certainly have had people comment on my body online, not as much as I thought people would, but I think I do handle it a lot better than some people do. I usually just laugh it off because it is something that I do see kind of more rarely. But for someone who is always getting comments like that, that's got to be, really hard to see. by me posting negative comments or negative things about other people. Like, I don't think that that would be a very good thing for me to do, because that just means that I wouldn't be feeling very good about myself. So I just wanted someone else to feel bad, and they just want to take them down with them. So it's just all bad.
I hear ya. That's just not how we're ever going to build each other up and solve anything in this world. So
exactly.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Depression isn't real. It's just being sad.
What are your thoughts?
My whole family is like on medication for depression. I was on medication for depression, and it is something that you can't really just shake off or just snap your finger and like, okay, then I'm gonna be happy. It is something that stems from like many different things. I think a lot of people have their own situations and life experiences that they could have gone through. You don't know the situation that someone could have dealt with. Like, I don't even want to give examples because it's just so scary, but like, people have dealt with rape, sexual violence, and that you think you can just get over that. Will change what I'm thinking and be happy. Like, that's not reality. But it's for someone to say that, it's just pure ignorance. It's just ignorant. Obviously doctors have done studies. They have medication for it. I don't think they would do that if it wasn't a real thing.
And it's important for someone to hear your perspective. I mean, having personal experience and being able to provide that story, I think helps close that ignorance gap a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
And in those moments where you were struggling with depression, how did you pull yourself out?
I'm lucky because I have a lot of things that I love. I have a lot of things I'm really passionate about, and I would turn to those things, like music. Like, I used to really love dancing, and I fell out of love with it a little bit, but I also love to sing, and I'd like to go on walks and stuff. So I would have to turn to those things that I love the most to help me, to help pull me out of that. I have a wonderful, wonderful partner, and he, like, just thinking about him always just puts me in the absolute best mood. Thinking about all those things that I do have, and I'm very fortunate to have, thinking about that and turning to that is what really helps me.
That's huge. Do you have a go-to song that you like to sing, or
anything Doja Cat?
Just
so anything
good.
by her. She is incredible, and she's been like all that I listened to over like the past year. Really,
so good. You can't go wrong with Doja.
I know.
That's such an awesome answer, and I'm happy that you have tactics and ways to pull you out of those moments, and surrounding yourself with a support system is huge.
Self-love is normalizing obesity and unhealthy habits. If you want people to love themselves, encourage them to work out. Now, this is it's just so touchy, but like, we all want to be healthy. We all want to have a good life. We all just want to do the best for ourselves mentally and physically as possible as, people. I really think that, again, that's a very ignorant statement. And I think that self-love isn't about what you look on the outside. I think you should really, whoever this person is, needs to find out what they love about who they are on the inside, because that's the most important thing. Super cheesy, sounds super rom-com-y, but it's true. Tying that back to the media and how everything portrayed on television and in movies and commercials, like how everyone should look a certain way and look a certain size and be a certain size, and if you're not that, then good luck. Like, that's, I think we need to move past that, because I think some of the most absolutely beautiful people in my life don't look anything like those people. People just need to be way more accepting of how everyone is and how everyone looks. And it's just stop hating. Just stop hating. I'm just sick of it.
I hear ya. Do you think people are born with the ability to hate?
Absolutely not. I think it's all taught. Going back to this very close person that's in my life, going back to them, they are a very hateful, jealous person, and has kind of taught me to not like the girls I would compete against. Comedians on TikTok seem to be the most depressed in their real lives. Make it make sense. So,
can you confirm?
I mean, I have a very happy life. I mean, I do think that some of the best comedy does come from like kind of like the most dark, internal experiences. I mean, even some of my favorite comedians, they talk about like things that they have experienced that they hated or don't like, and it's, you know, it's very relatable and it's funny. Like, I think the best kind of comedy is the most relatable type of comedy.
No, it's so important hearing your personal experience too, because I think a lot of people make assumptions, and like you said, that puts everyone into the same bubble or box. And it's so important to actually hear what people have gone through outside of that. So I'm really happy you brought that up.
We need to normalize talking about eating disorders. The longer we shame someone for having one, the longer it will take to prevent them in the future.
Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's something that it might start to become more glamorized in the media, like, because people are talking about all these really harsh topics, but I don't think they're talking about them correctly. And I think, you know, people will make videos and memes about it, and it's like, I guess if you've personally gone through something like this, it is important to shed light on it, but I think there is a line. I've seen people online who don't have it, and I think pretend to have it for attention. That's bad. That's bad. And I think that the people who have experienced it genuinely talk about it. And you can kind of tell like who's just like glamorizing the topic and who's not. So I think that that is something that we need to work better on as a society, just like being like, this is it. This is a real thing. Don't judge me for it, but this is something that I dealt with. And I think we just need to work on it and try to help.
That's what you do so well. I think you've done such a great job starting conversations about these difficult topics like we're doing today. And because of that, it reduces the shame, it reduces the judgment. And once it's in the open, then we can start to find solutions.
Right.
So Jessval, if you had one message to share with our entire generation who's listening to our conversation today, what would you say?
Be yourself. And I never thought that being myself would really get me anywhere, because I was always told to be something different. And I was always told to look different, act different, sing different, dance different. That was never who I was. And I would never be where I am today if I didn't like stay true to who I am in my heart. You know, don't ever try to mold yourself into something that you're not, because that will just make you spiral and crumble, and you will be very, very sad and not live a fulfilling life. And I'm so fulfilled because of how I have stayed true to myself throughout, you know, especially the past 2 years growing, you know, my platform on the internet.
And that's
Be
all
you.
I was gonna say, that's all we could ever hope for, right? And thank you for modeling that, not only for me, but for everyone in this room, everyone in our community. You are embodying what it means to truly be yourself, and normalize that it's not a linear journey. We can still struggle with the things that we're grappling with, and revisiting our younger self and the things that we're still healing from. And I think overall, you are truly doing such amazing work to empower people to do the same.
Thank you.
So thank you for being on the show, and thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
I want to give you a hug too.
Oh,
thank you so much for opening up too.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You're amazing.
The world needs you.
This. Like, I wasn't expecting all that, but yeah, I feel good.
Good.
I feel good. Yeah.
And thank you for opening up. I know it hit deep, and I'm just really grateful that you talked about it.
I started to kind of like make a little like series about people who have dealt with like kind of like traumatizing experiences, like parents going through a divorce. The numbers were just like not on my side, and like the videos were not being pushed out, and I don't think people really liked it.
And that'll test you, like whether you're creating content for the numbers and the consumption of others, or whether you're creating content that matters to you.